Hey everyone, welcome to Giving Back AI Education. Today we're going to see how to use OS and API to understand how we can use AI and API concept to analyze the economic data and perform some prediction. So as usual, we will start with our API. OS and API is here, and for our reference, I'm going to use economic slash imports endpoint. So this is the endpoints that we have currently available. Now if I go here as usual, right, so let me try it out again, and let's say I want only 10 responses from here. Let me execute, and you can see we have all these responses in JSON format, right? So this is pretty straightforward. We've been doing this all the way through. Now what is the next step? Like, what can we do from this data now, right? So that is what we are going to explore in this session. Hey, if you are new to the channel, please consider subscribing, and we will continue with the contents like this. For now, let's just go to the module 1 again, right? So what can we do? Let's say we have the API, we have the response. Now what is the next step we can do? So first thing first, always if we have a data that is structured in some way, it's very easy and intuitive to start with simple data visualization. So what do I mean by that? Let's just go ahead and search for it, data visualization. So I'm gonna show you guys how it looks like and what exactly is the data visualization. We are not going to write any code in this session, but in the following sessions you can check back and see what are the visualization techniques we are using. Okay, so this session is kind of overview of what we are going to do next. Okay, so let's look at the images of the visualization. So you can see all these beautiful charts, right? There are many people and many libraries, frameworks, and you name it. There are different ways of visualizing data, but I'm going to show you simple techniques or simple simple type of visualization that we can do, and it's easy to understand. So all these beautiful looking graphs, it might be coming from different platforms. Some of the platforms are Tableau, Power BI, and there is also some custom dashboard designing, right? So it could be coming from different sources, so it doesn't have to be looking exactly same. What we will be focusing is something like this type of graph, which looks pretty simple, but it gives all the information that we need, right? So we can see this is a histogram, this is some kind of meter diagram, this is a pie chart. So we will start with the basics and try to understand the nature of the data we have in our API, right? So for example, this is a data set, and we can also perform the visualization to understand the general patterns and the trends in the data. So that's the one thing we can do. What is the second thing? What is the second thing we can do, or like what is the general thing to do with data? Obviously, if we were if we were looking looking this data in a notebook or some kind of data frame, right, it's very easy, and it's more intuitive to do more analysis. But now since we are already here and we have the response body here, let's just explore and try to understand the response itself and try to see what kind of parameters or the keys the data frame has. So you can see there's year field, right? Year is here. It's about the year on which the this record is happening, which is the, let's say this is commodity is floor coverings of man-made textile material, right? And this is coming from India. In quantity 652, amount is right here in millions, right? So this is one thing we can do. So if I scroll further down, the other item is carpet and other textile floor coverings, right? So it looks like this section is about carpet. Now what if I do, let's say, offset 2, and I want to get 10 responses from next slice. Here we can see the different different commodity, but not so different. Let me try something like 20. Okay, okay, again, floorings. It might be because we are getting the same item from different country. As you can see, right? We're getting from Sweden, we're getting from Malaysia, we're getting from Saudi Arabia. So just by looking at the data, it's very intuitive, or it's okay to understand or to get a feel of the nature of the data. So although the commodity is same, it might be coming from different places, right? And it might be coming within the same year. You can see 2066, 67 here, and 66, 67 here. So this is the thing that we are trying to explore, right? So this is one of the things that we could do. And if we have the year, or like some kind of time, a snap, and some quantity involved, amount, or some kind of fixed quantity, we could do time series analysis. And what exactly is a time series analysis? So let's see, time series analysis. Okay, let's see here. Time series analysis is here. So if you guys have ever used some like trading dashboard, you could have observed that. So you can see this is not very clear picture, but let me go back and try to find another example or like images of that. Okay, so let's look at some image. Okay, there are many images on time series analysis. Let me pick one simple trend. Okay. Okay, let's see here. Okay, I'll go to, let's say this one, because it has the data on it, right? So you can see January 49, 50, 51, and you can see some kind of date, like month, and within the month I think, I'm not sure what they are trying to record here, because the number is Jan, like the unit is Jan 60, 59, some kind of x-axis that I don't tend to understand, but let's explore this one. Okay, you can see 1995 is here. It's very wide plot, but we could make a feel of it, right? Actually, this is the perfect uh, image that I was looking for. So title is beer sales time series data between 2000 and 2017. So somebody was trying to see how the sales of beer market was doing in between 2000 and 2017, and they had pretty good understanding or pretty good analysis of the sales data, right? You could see as the year progresses to the right, the amount of sales also increased, right? Because this slope is positive. So positive slope means it's going upward, not downward, this way, right? So so this is something that we can look from the data. And also here we can see they have they have a straight line coming from near to origin to almost like to the all the way to the right. And this is time series analysis for some kind of data, right? It has time here on the x-axis and year passenger on the y-axis. So that means time series is done primarily between our like time series is useful when we have a quantity on the right hand side and time stamp on the x-axis. It could be year, date, or it could be even the seconds, right? Any time unit you could use. So what is the next thing we can do? Obviously the next step or next thing we can do from this type of analysis is forecasting. So what is a forecasting? Forecasting is basically trying to predict what will be the future based on the historical data. So let's say you might have heard some terms like weather forecasting, and it's very popular because it's generally used and it has perfect meaning to what forecasting that we are talking about. Because forecasting is about trying to predict, right? Predict what is going to happen after a certain time or within certain time frame. So let's look at this, right? This simple graph somebody did, but we can explain it. So let's say the slope is positive, right? We can see the slope is positive. Now if the slope is positive and between 1950 and 52, right? So how many years are there in between 50 and 52? 2 years. So So the rate at which the air passenger is increasing between these 2 years, right? If we are able to predict, or if we are able to find the slope of this line between 50, from here to here, right? This slope is also the equation of this line, right? Because as you can see, this is a straight line, right? So that way, if you have a if you have the if you have what can I say it, if you have some understanding of the trend, right? If you have some kind of equation, or some unit of measurement for the line, right? So you could guess, let's say if the base is here, right? If the base or the starting point is here and the end point is here, you could find the value of x and y plots in between these two lines, right? So this is pretty basic mathematics you do in like 8 or 9 classes in school. So this is where we use that concept of using, given you have x value, so what would be the y-axis value for that point, right? So this is some kind of forecasting we could do, but sometimes, yeah, it could be wrong, because you can see here, right? The actual point is way below the train line, way below the train line, right? So it could be wrong sometimes, but that's a different story that we are going to talk about in the next, or like in the future videos. But here what I'm trying to say is, it should somehow be modeled into these into this line, right? So even though there is some kind of discrepancy, or like offset in the data collection, or data fitting, right? What you can say is, well, okay, you could successfully guess between the ranges of height and the ranges of flows, right? So if you draw another line from here, touching all the tops, all the the peaks of this graph, right? And draw another line from here, touching all the bottoms of these curves, you could successfully guess that the expected future value would lie somewhere in between this range, not outlier over here, right? So this is kind of general understanding of forecasting. So what is the next thing we can do now? um, there are some kind of cluster analysis that we can do. So let's go back to our API. So let's say we have a group of commodities, right? Commodities here, commodity here. So in this example, we're kind of getting same type of commodity, but here, let's say we have textile floor coverings, and the other commodities, carpet, tuft of wool, or fine animal here, right? And another is carpet, tuft of wool, or fine animal here. Okay, fine. So what is like, how can we use AI to group these together, group similar commodities? Now I can see the commodity are spread all over the place, right? One is here, and the other item is somewhere below, right? Textile floor coverings of nylon or polyamides, right? So there's no there is no sequence of data. So if we have this kind of situation, we can use some algorithms, like k-means algorithm, to group similar commodities, and we can also group them based on the input quantities, amounts, or the countries they are coming from. And there are many other things that you can do. And one of the great things about using cluster algorithm or cluster analysis is they can provide insight into which commodity or countries are closely related in terms of patterns. Let's say if you are importing a certain commodity like textile floor coverings from Turkey, right? Um, you can actually this is very the clustering algorithm is very useful, because by design, it's a group of similar items, right? So it will be more meaningful when we are trying to analyze closely related items and analyze the patterns of the items. Okay, cool. So the other thing we can do is natural language processing. Well, it's very at this point it's super popular, the language models. That's a different story, a different thing, different type of machine learning. But the natural language processing that we are talking about is some kind of language language extraction from unstructured data. Let's say you have a PDF file and you want to extract some data from the PDF file, right? You could use libraries such as NLTK or Spacey, and analyze descriptions and extract keywords from the commodity or the import sources. And sometimes we can also extract the information or the sentiments towards the import items. Let's say if you have let's say if you have I want to give some relatable examples. Sometimes the policy changes, right? Sometimes the policy changes, and what happens is, okay, so when the policy changes, what happens is it reflects on the import of goods and services, right? So that means the sentiment of the policy change is directly reflecting in the data, right? Directly reflected in the amount or the quantity of the items that we are importing or exporting. It can be anything. So in that case is what you can do is, let's say you have a report generated or released by government agency, right? And they have information about the policy changes, let's say rate interest rate hiking or tampering. How does that gonna affect the import and export of the commodity, right? How does that export, or how does that affect the amount of, let's say, tomato that we are consuming or tomatoes we are importing, right? So these are very profound type of questions that we can explore by using AI and machine learning. And definitely we are going to do some kind of analysis using NLP or natural language processing in the future videos, but this is kind of overview for you guys to understand what to expect in the future. Similarly, we can do interactive dashboards. So let's say we have all these real-time data streaming, right? Now we can build dashboard on top of it or using these. So there are different dashboarding tools. Like this is pretty static dashboard, I would say, right? So data is not changing here. Let's say as the time progresses, the no data is updated or added. So this is static data. So the use of API or the power of API is when we have a real-time data streaming, right? We can have real-time dashboard and we can make the dashboard interactive. We can use libraries like Plotly, Dash to create dashboards, and we can also allow our users or sometimes stakeholders to explore the data and make the data speak itself by converting the raw data into some visual kind of storytelling, right? So that's something we can do using AI and machine learning. And another classic application of machine learning is also in anomaly detection, right? So what does that mean? That means um, um, detecting unusual patterns in the data. So let's say I will give you the same example. Let's say um, we're importing textile floor coverings from Turkey, right? We used to import something like, let's say, 4 to 42,812 items of the textile floor per year. And then suddenly one of the years, what we did is we bumped the import from this country by maybe 100 times or 1,000 times, right? So that's something unusual, definitely, and it can happen. But in real life, it's very unlikely that it happen because that that also comes with changes in other imports data, right? For example, if you're importing more from this country, Turkey, that will have that will have an effect in import from another country, because the total consumption is most likely not going to change much, right? So if we are importing more from Turkey, we should be reducing import from some other country, right? But what if we didn't do that, but the amount of uh, imported quantity is unnaturally high here? So there could be some fraud cases over there. So right, so that kind of thing that we can do. And this is like, you know this is very non-sensitive data, I would say. When it comes to um, analysis, there are more sensitive data such as financial data and banking data that can be more time sensitive. But this type of uh, data is not as sensitive as the financial data. So definitely, depending on the nature of the data and the frequency of the data gathering, the story might be different. But I'm just giving an exposure as to what we can do from the responses like this, right? And like I said, the report generation could be done using automation in machine learning, or automation using Python or any other tool. The language doesn't really matter, but there are AI powered scripts that can automatically generate detailed reports, right? So there used to be a time when we used to write reports by hand, then that was replaced by computers, and people use computers. And nowadays people use machine learning models or algorithms to generate report, and people build models, right? So think about the evolution of human beings and the adoption of the technology. Okay, it's cool. So there's so many interesting things happening in this space of AI and machine learning. I hope you guys are enjoying this. If not, please feel free to drop a comment in the comment section below, so I will be able to reply you. And if you like the video, please consider subscribing. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye bye.